Thank you so much for finding Channel Core. Without any ado, let's do Kinds of Kindness. At this point, I'm really going to be shocked if Yorgos Lanthimos, director of The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Favorite, and Poor Things, ever makes anything I don't love or at least like. Weirdly, I wasn't expecting much from this for some reason, I guess because no one's really talking about it, but this is up there with his best. It follows 3 different stories of 3 separate groups of characters and situations that all include actors Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Willem Dafoe. Can you ask for more, really? Especially in a good movie. Before I give brief one-liners on what the gist of each story is, I gotta mention that these are all so theme-heavy that you might pick up on them even if you're someone who doesn't really ever look for that stuff. What stood out to me were representations of submission, obsession, religion, addiction, hope, and following blindly. I also have to point out that these are all just barely more fantasy and artsy than they are logical and grounded in reality, but they're also immediately gripping and engaging from the moment each story starts. Also, of course, I'm only commenting on things we find out super duper quickly in each narrative, just to set the premise of each. The first story has Jesse Plemons, for unknown reasons, doing anything and everything his boss says, to the ridiculous extent of things like exactly when he has sex with his wife, when he eats and sleeps, and what he wears. And if anyone within that system lets their conscience or morals get in the way, they're going to get shut out of whatever that weird as hell relationship is supposed to be. Next story is Jesse Plemons is a cop whose marine biologist wife goes missing at sea, and after she's found and returns home, he quickly becomes convinced that she's not his real wife, but some sort of copy. And in the backdrop, Jesse has not only been acting noticeably weird around his colleagues since his wife disappeared, but we quickly find out that their sexual relationship with at least one other couple is quite unnatural, is all I'm going to say. Third story is Emma Stone and her husband Jesse belong to some sort of seemingly religious cult that's obsessed with finding a chosen one type, which, per prophecies, will have the power to resurrect the dead. Emma is the more obsessed with finding the magical person, and like the first story, the big fear is getting ostracized from the cult. I was tempted to point out which themes apply to which stories, but it's more fun if you get there yourself. And if you really aren't someone who ever does that sort of thing, you can always write my list of themes out and make a quick game out of which applies to what, assuming I'm not an idiot and haven't gotten them all wrong. One other thing you may have deduced from my descriptions is that, yes, this whole movie is pretty much like watching 3 back-to-back episodes of Black Mirror or, The Twilight Zone. One of my favorite things about the writing here, if not my favorite thing, is how within just a few minutes we're thrust right into the situations and predicaments and have clear senses of the characters and relationships between them all. That takes some serious writing skill, although it's a little easier to do when so many of the characters are fairly bizarre and also obsessive in whatever odd ways. As with all Yorgos movies, there's some seriously effed up content here, with not just little bits of wacky sex stuff, but more notably some self-mutilation sequences in one story at least. While I'd say the good thing for mainstreamers who don't always like the artsiest movies is that narrative-wise, these are all pretty engaging right from the start, and again, like Black Mirror, you shouldn't have much trouble following what's going on. I'm not saying it's all going to make sense or answer every question, but you shouldn't lose track of what's happening at least. I'm not sure where I place this compared to his other movies, but if The Favorite is his movie that's the most mainstream accessible, I'd say this is his second behind that. Kind of. And we're talking individual stories. That's what I got. Everyone's review is biased in some way. My opinions could totally change a week, a month, or years from now. So keep on loving what you love. Please comment below if I missed something or got something right. They say that really helps the channel, but please do it in the nicest way possible because, I am a very, very fragile man-child.